Back in 1986, John Bon Jovi sung We're Halfway There, which begs a few questions. Where exactly, and how do I avoid this place? Apologies, I'm tired, not feeling 100%, and there's still a long way to go in this series. So, if the energy drops for 1997, the midway point of my lifetime of listening, then please just bear with me while I get my breath back for the home stretch. A nice symmetry this year and for this episode. 1997, the UK election, which saw the end of the Conservative Party for a while. And this year, next week in fact, the 2024 reboot. I may be older and, amazingly, some might say, even more cynical, but as lackluster as this year's alternatives are, I'll take them. Variety is the spice of life, they say, and I think we're all in need of a little seasoning to take the rotten flavour of this current government out of our mouths. Anyway, enough. 1997, I was a busy bee, working hard. My girlfriend finally got a job back in Norwich, so together again after a few years of long-distance loving. That sounds a little ruder than I meant it to. And as I recall, another move, my third address in as many years. I started making some little home demos with a cassette 4-track and a drum machine, but still just messing around on my own. That would all change next year. The internet had started doing internet-y things by this point, however, putting me in touch with isolated music nuts in other parts of the world. Most notably, Sweden, home to Mats Gustafsson, that's creator of a brilliant fanzine of that period called The Broken Face. Here's issue 14. Mats was very, very encouraging about my little demos. We ended up visiting one another in person over the next year or two. An example of one of those online interactions that we take for granted nowadays, which seemed incredibly exciting and liberating at the time. Oh, Mats, if you happen to see this, please drop me a message. It would be great to catch up with you. Anyway, on with the music, I guess, and I'll try and whip through these a little quicker today, I think. First up, a couple of big releases in different ways, which I always appreciated without ever truly getting in a meaningful way. Yeah, Radiohead and OK Computer, of course. How could you avoid this in 1997? Impossible. I like it. I appreciate the creative leap the band made. And yeah, taking a song like Paranoid Android to number 3 in the singles charts was probably the first sign that Britpop as we knew it was done. Secondly, yeah, the debut album from Godspeed You Black Emperor. I think this was 97 anyway. An impressively serious band, progenitor of an entire substrand of intensely cinematic, hymnal post-rock, and another band I admired but didn't really love either then or now. Next, a couple of wildly different UK acts and their releases from this year. First, The Fall and Levitate, the fin de siècle of 80s, 90s fall as we knew it. A maddeningly uneven album to end a crazy few years. The return of Bricks and the departures of Scanlon, Wollstonecraft, Hanley. As an album, it is all over the shop, but the chaos that Marquis Smith actively nurtured as a creative cudgel bears some amazing results here. 4.5-inch Masquerade, Hurricane Edward, 10 Houses of Eve, and a barn-storming cover of the novelty schlock oddity I'm a Mummy. It's a record which works despite itself, and although it left a worryingly high body count in its wake, true Fall fans rate this one very highly. And following that, Teenage Fan Club and Songs from Northern Britain. I'm calling it. This is Teenage Fan Club's best album. I know, bandwagon-esque, Grand Prix even, but this beats all comers for me. Perfectly pitched, power pop, West Coast folk rock, Caledonian country. You get Start Again, Ain't That Enough, Can't Feel My Soul, I Don't Want Control of You, and that is just the first 4 tracks. It has Winter, for God's sake. It's one of their best songs. The album is a minor masterpiece. The I've talked about these before section. Both Shipping News, Save Everything, and Ariel M's as performed by Ariel M. Both hugely, hugely influential on my own musical development. I've never stopped playing these records. Heck, some of the Ariel M tracks even featured in my wedding ceremony a few years down the line. I'd happily take either of these for this week's choice, but sometimes you just get a record that is so aligned with memories of a specific year that it is unassailable. That's the case with 1997, so for that reason only, they sit here instead. Others, Grandaddy, Under the Western Freeway, their breakthrough. It was everywhere this year, a lovely record. The sad Casio balladeers of 90s lo-fi. I played it loads. The Van Pelt, Sultans of Sentiment. What are these? That sadcore emo Venn diagram that you never knew existed has a picture of this band right in the middle. A really great record, but if Chris Leo's voice grates with you, then, sit this one out. Everyone else, get aboard. Shame it doesn't also get The Speeding Train, a standalone single from this year, but, now you know about it, you can get that one too, right? Surrender to the Night by Trans Am, another almost selection here. A brilliant album from the post-rock trio that seemingly nobody got. Love their humour, their elevation of Jan Hammer and Van Halen to the same critical heights as Neu and Kraftwerk. I've been meaning to devote a whole video to these guys, but are you going to watch it? Anyways, Surrender pitches brutal exercise book electronic experiments against prog rock bombast and TV theme hooks. Carbo Force manages all three of these things in under 8 minutes and is my go-to playlist joker. It's that one song guaranteed to make everyone stop in their tracks and go, who and what the hell is this? And finally, if you're the type that likes to try and predict my picks for these videos, I guarantee there will be a few of you crumpling your notes in exasperation at this one. Yeah, not my pick for 97. This is I Can Hear the Heart Beating as One by Yola Tango. Yes, I love it. Yes, it's their best, their definitive even album. But some years it's just not meant to be. You probably all know this one: Sugar Cube, Damage, Deeper Into Movies, Stockholm Syndrome, Autumn Sweater, The Stunning, The Lie and How We Told It. For any other band, a best of, but Yola Tango lined all these up for one gorgeous late 90s record that ended up providing them with the template for everything they've done ever since. Yeah, sorry pop pickers. Because despite all the amazing lo-fi, dream pop, post-rocker and those generational albums released this year, all of which should tick all my boxes and then some, 1997 is a year I go pop. And that's pop in the true sense. Popular, big all over. A hit, yes, but in no way compromised, focus grouped or manufactured. Actually, scratch that last bit. This was entirely manufactured. Isn't it amazing what robots can do nowadays? Zut alors. It's Daft Punk. And Homework. And whilst watching me gormlessly contemplate this CD and in a break with tradition, why not give this video a thumbs up? It will help this content reach new viewers, which is a really big deal for small channels like Desaliny. Thanks. I've been picking the odd hip-hop and electronic release all the way through this series, but 1997 is the first one since Kraftwerk back in 1975 to be my pick of the year. And you'd think in the 22 years between these two records that there'd be very little to connect them. And being non-native English speakers aside, you'd have a very good point, given where electronic music was in the mid-70s and where it found itself nearing the turn of the millennium. I'm no dance music authority, but by any means, help me out here, Mikey. But dial down the lingo, the micro-genre talk, all the technological stuff. And there's one standout thing that links them, and that is simplicity. Kraftwerk through necessity, and Daft Punk through choice. Because for the most part, Homework is unashamedly stripped down house music. It isn't some sample-delic crowd pleaser. The beats are, for the most part, pure four-on-the-floor, disco-derived or brutal hammer-blow thwompers. This is not of the thoughtful school of electronic music of the period. No appeal to ambience, no finicky arrangements, micro beats or jazzy flourishes. It's closer to the crowd-pleasing big beat of the day. Chemical Brothers, Fatboy Slim, Death in Vegas, The Prodigy even. But somehow, and maybe it's just the French thing, big beat just doesn't sit quite right with them either. So what is it with this record and why did it blow up in 1997? I don't know. Thomas and Guy Manuel had started out on guitar and bass in a band called Darlin', so maybe they came to electronic music with a slightly different set of sensibilities. There's certainly an appreciation of pop structures and hooks at play here. That on the one bootsy bass line of the big hit here, Around the World, is the hook. and all the vocoders and the tinkly little synth lines around it, well, side salad. But repetition aside, Around the World is the exception here. It's the one track that gets the kitchen sink treatment and milks it for all it's worth. The rest? Nah, no need. There are funky touches and snatches, that slip-sliding bassline on Burnin' for one, but far less than that huge single would suggest. In fact, it's the rabid thumpers on Homework that offer a more representative view of the minimalism that runs through the album. I'm talking the head-banging, filter-twisting insistence of the incredible rolling and scratching, or the gonzoid glitter-beat hand claps and queasy, syncopated squelch of the equally manic rock and roll. But between these extremes are some very tasteful developments, some halfway houses, if you like, mining euphoric arms up funky house gliders like Revolution 909 and Phoenix, or the blissed out Oceanside vibe and sustained keyboard drones of Fresh. None of these tracks have that oversaturated more is better feel of British big beat contemporaries. There's space for melodies and rhythms to establish to get their hooks in for the listener to orientate themselves. And yes, it is overlong. It could lose a track or two maybe, but one of those excesses, the lashed up list song of Teachers, is actually quite instructive. Yeah, pin your ears back for those treated vocals, and amidst the contemporary DJs and electronica name calls, you get Joey Beltram, Luke Slater, Van Helden, Lil Louis. There are some pointers to the other musics that they were referencing. Dr. Dre, George Clinton, and yeah, the Beach Boys' Brian Wilson himself. Daft Punk would never make so defiantly lean a record, despite the 75-minute runtime, ever again, turning their attention more towards funky electro and progressive synth pop, working with everyone from Pharrell and Kanye West to Giorgio Moroder and Nile Rodgers. So was this later stuff ultimately a better expression of who they were as musicians? And was Homework just them working things out on the way to bigger, better records? Again, I don't know. 1997, Homework was just kind of it. I remember driving back with friends from a holiday in West Wales, eating up the miles in a horribly overladen car, with rolling and scratching, rattling the windows out of their seals. You can't argue with memories, man. What's a lifetime of listening without them? 1997 and Daft Punk. Who saw that one coming, eh? Yeah, I went dance. What do you think of Homework? I know a lot of people like their later records a little more, and look at this one as just kind of early stuff, them getting it out of their system. What do you think of Homework? Halfway through the year, so I'm going to flash up on screen all the pics I've made from the second quarter, the last 3 months of these videos. And whilst you're browsing through them, why not think about adding a comment down below? What would your favourite album, your pick for 1997 be? Let's talk about it down there. But hey, that's it. Thank you very much for sticking with the video this far. If you're not a subscriber, why not? Go ahead, do that right now. Yeah, in the meantime, do take care, and I hope to see you again on the channel very, very soon. Bye for now.